What's up, guys? So I made this video to help out anyone who is trying to become a killer or survivors who are interested in becoming a killer. I got 5 tips that are going to make you a much better killer, and all of my tips, as always, are going to have examples that are going to show what I am talking about. So let's go ahead and hop into tip number 1. The first tip you need to know is knowing the killer you are playing as. For example, you see me playing as the nurse, and I'm playing very aggressive and going after survivors non-stop. And then you see in this clip, I am playing as Ghostface, but I'm not doing anything like the nurse. I'm not playing anything like her. I am much more stealthier and playing much more conservative because neither killer is the same at all. Each killer is different and unique, and there is a certain way you should play them. And if you try to play each and every killer the same way, no matter what your perks are, it's going to be awful. You're not going to have a fun time. I can almost guarantee that you will never pick up the killer concept whatsoever, and you will never play killer again. I learned that the hard way because unfortunately, I didn't do my research, and I thought every killer was going to be able to be played the same. But, like I said, make sure you do your research on the killer that you are trying to play as. It helps a lot, and it makes the game a lot more fun, and you can also, build on your knowledge on what you know and everything. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into tip number 2. This tip is going to help you a lot if you're already a survivor main, but tip number 2 is to think like a survivor. In this example, I am playing the nurse and Claudette is trying to hide, but I find her and down her. Then as soon as I leave, right away they unhook her, so I know that they are going to consistently unhook each time non-stop right when I leave the area. Then I down her again. Then I go for the other Claudette and knock her down. Then Meg is healing Claudette. Then I get another free hook. And then I go after Meg and down her because I knew that they are going to be around and way over altruistic. So I capitalize on it and get free hooks and easy downs because I read the survivors' movements and what they were doing. I was thinking like a survivor. You always need to constantly be thinking about what would you do if you were a survivor. This is why this is very important, because if you understand a survivor's mindset, or at least a majority of survivors' mindsets, you can take a very educated guess on what's going to be, happening, if they're going to unhook a lot, or if they're just going to be working on gens. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go to tip number 3. The third tip is going to be very important, and that is using perks to cover up your weaknesses. Now, this is something you're going to have to kind of ask yourself or figure out yourself kind of what you are weak at as a killer. Luckily, there are a lot of perks out there that help that. So, for example, one of my weaknesses is tracking. So, if I can't find a survivor or I lose a survivor in chase, I use Bitter Murmur because no matter what, I'm going to find a survivor once a generator is complete. As you can see, the survivor's aura is revealed within 16 meters for 5 seconds. So that's one way to track survivors. Another way to track survivors is Nurse's Calling. If they are healing within 28 meters of you, you can see their aura while they are healing. And also, it's a great way to score a free hit or a down. Another perk I use is Sloppy Butcher because it's a great way to slow the game down, because once you hit them, it takes them a little bit longer to heal, and they bleed a lot more, so they are easier to track, and also that means they are not on a generator, so the less people on generators is more opportunity for you to hit and down a survivor. Those are just a few perks that you can use. There are multiple other perks you can also use for different weaknesses, but those are personally the perks I use to cover up my weaknesses. Like I said, it's just something you're just going to have to kind of figure out on your own. And like I said, there is just countless other perks you can use. But let's go ahead and move to tip number 4. My 4th tip is kind of a hot button issue within the Dead by Daylight community, but the 4th tip is to not camp unless given a reason. Now you might be asking yourself, what the hell does this mean? It means you should only camp survivors if you are given a reason. So for example, if they are just straight up farming each other, just unhooking each other for no reason, or you just know someone's around, or you get like a weird gut feeling. Again, let's use the example that I showed you in tip number 2. Notice how they are just immediately unhooking right away whenever I leave. I start to get the feeling right away that I am always either being watched or they are just unhooking them once my terror radius is gone. Now, this picture right here tells me that this survivor is pretty much committed to unhooking and saving survivors no matter what. And guess what? I'm right. They are watching my movements, and I was right to come back because I knew that they were there. I also have 2 more examples to show you. As you can see, I am chasing Claudette, then I down her and hook her, and I'm looking around because I had that feeling that I was being watched. And you know what? Here comes Dwight to make the save. I down him and start looking for Claudette, and what do you know? She's right there, so I down her, and then I get a 4K. The point of this is I am just trying to show you that if you have a feeling that someone is watching you, or, you know, you just kind of get that weird feeling that someone's around, don't be afraid to just kind of hang around for a little bit. You know, you don't got to sit there and stare at the, the hook survivor, but look around the area a little bit, especially if you get that gut feeling. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that is a complete valid thing to do. Just always be mindful, and like I said, if you have that feeling, just hang around an extra few seconds and just look around, different areas. But let's go ahead and go to our 5th and final tip. The 5th and final tip is using the environment to your advantage. For example, one thing that a lot of killers don't pay attention to is when crows fly away. That generally means someone is running in the area or they have disturbed the crows, so they will just fly away and you can know right then and there that they're there. So that's one way to use the environment. Another example is when using the trapper, don't put traps in plain sight, use tall grass, windows, pallets, the list goes on and on. Another example would be for Michael, the pig, and Ghostface. Use your stealth and size to gain an advantage, whether it is crouching and hiding or just stalking survivors to get a free hit or a down. You must always use obstacles and just the environment around you to get an advantage. So you just got to be very mindful of, how to use that stuff to your advantage. You just got to make sure that whatever killer you are using, just be mindful and just be looking out for crows, using obstacles to your advantage, and just always making sure that you are always paying attention. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making this like I always do. If you guys like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you really enjoyed the content and want to see more like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you guys later.